Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Let's go ahead and go through some of the comments here from yesterday's video. Julie says, Brenda, glad you weren't hurt badly from your fall. Heal up well. And she is. Brenda says, thank you, Julie. I'm just sore, but not broken, thankfully. Yes, thankfully indeed. And then Strack put a link in there. Jack J says, I had a friend that was over the top because 23andMe said her son was 20% Ashkenazi Jew. I tried to explain to her, and she dropped me. Then my longest friendship got upset with me, as I am not to speak about the Jews like God was going to send a lightning bolt down to strike me down. Wow. And TA says, so now when some Ashkenazi Jew needs an organ replaced, your friend's son will be on the list as a possible source for a replacement organ. I'm sure no one told her that. And then let's see here. HIQ says, Erica Kirk, bye-bye. Don't care about TPUSA. Israel is done. Reveal continues. Love and gratitude to God, Global Military Alliance, Commander-in-Chief, and all positive entities. Crimes against children will unite humanity. Please release reality to the masses worldwide. EBS, public tribunals, and Gesara before this Christmas. That would be wonderful. But they just need to do some events first. And, or so they say. Anyway, Buck Peanut says, good morning, Brendan Martin. Now I think Erica and all the rest of them are trying to show a part of religion that most people don't see. They are playing a part, and I too think that Charlie is alive. Remember, you are watching a show. I too get lost in it once in a while. And thank you for helping me to wake up. Like I said, it's a really good show. Yeah, but it's old. And then let's see here. Trouble says, I hope you didn't get seriously hurt, Brenda. A couple of weeks ago, I had a bad fall. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. At a store I was visiting, there was a basket in the middle of the entrance that I didn't see because I was turning my good ear towards my son, trying to hear him tell me something. I couldn't stand right either. 2 employees were putting themselves between me and my son, who was trying to help me up. I think I may have been a little bit miffed because I screamed, stop getting between me and my son. They backed up like my scream was a physical force. I of course apologized profusely because I didn't realize they were trying to keep a stranger from putting his hands on me. Anyway, I am fine. My knees and hands were heavily bruised, but no broken bones. Well, fortunately, you're okay. Thank you. And then Brenda says, oh, no trouble. I'm so sorry. Not fun at all. I'm thankful that neither of us broke anything. And I'm glad you were with your son when it happened. Take care of yourself. And then Trouble comes back and says, I am thankful for both of us as well, Brenda. Since it appears that MedBeds won't be here anytime soon, we have to do our best to take care of ourselves and our loved ones. Have a blessed Christmas and a happy New Year. Mrs. CLA says, I appreciate everything you say about Zionists. My husband is not to the point yet where I can tell him about this. He will be, though. We watch John Hagee every Sunday, and it's very hard to listen to him without exploding. I hope they make it known soon about him. Boy, yeah, you're a trooper. Anyway, keep up your good work. Sending you love, light, and blessings. And Pecan Sally, Michael Aquino, Axel Carl says, thank you so much for this video. Brendan Martin, hoping that you have a wonderful Merry Christmas and that your New Year will be the best one ever. Well, same to you as well. And then Pecan Sally says, look up Abel Danger, whose evil sister made a machine for planes which stopped O2, so all aboard died. The plane crashed when it ran out of fuel. She was a bitch. And then LLM says Field McConnell is Abel Danger. He was big on the internet talking about remote controls in all airplanes. They fixed his wagon when they tossed him in jail for 3 years, and his beloved wife. Second one died under mysterious circumstances. I miss Field and the truth he gave to us. And then Brenda says, I followed Field McConnell, Abel Danger, for years. His demonic sister, Christine Marcy, along with Hillary, were in cahoots with each other, both demons. And then Elby Suley says, Brenda, you are so very awesomely knowledgeable. Who needs Wikipedia? We have Brenda Brudel. That's true. And she is very knowledgeable indeed. And you are so very loved. Thank you for you, Laura. And then Charles says, I'm not eating anything from the government kitchen. McKnight says, Martin, almost forgot to mention in your last video when you gave the news about the taxi driver that was dumped in the reservoir after robbing him. Well, that was just outside next town over from me. Like I mentioned before, I live in Danbury, Connecticut, and Putnam County is minutes away. I read about that story in the newspaper. You know, Martin, ever since illegal aliens started coming into our country, it's no longer safe in our town. The taxi driver lived in my town. I'm just glad the police arrested that scumbag. Massive deportation soon, please, White Hats. From what I read this morning in the current news, they're going to ratchet up the deportations. And then Jack J says, Flog Swedish, HIQ, love you both. Hope to meet y'all and other icons sooner than later. A lot of people don't watch any political stuff by design. Merry Christmas, respectfully, Texas Sovereign. And then TA says it was during floods that Joel Osteen kept his church closed. That was in Houston. And Charles says, I think it's this guy. And then Aquino, yes. Pecan Sally says, Khazarian Mafia. Jews will be gotten rid of by the alliance military. Trump in charge. Yes, I agree. They will be gotten rid of. And then P. Smith, Brenda, can you find this lady's social media and give her your turning point advice? Maybe one of your contacts can get her phone number. God bless. And Charles says, if you look at reptilian, they say it's anti-Semitic. WAR, we are reptilian. And then McKnight says, Merry Christmas, Martin and Brenda, and all patriots on this channel. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you as well. And then P. Smith says, I loved watching President Trump and some of the pharmaceutical heads live the other day on RSBN. There were so many, 17 columns in there from him. Such a wink and a nod to the awakened. It was brilliant. The chat was a hoot, too. Lots of awake people in there. And then Johnny A. says, thank you, guys. Yes, the sickness of them for what they have done to kids. Have a good day, sweetheart. And yes, the sickness done to the kids, 100% demonic. Love you guys. If and when we get some financial refunds, I look to heading y'all way to personally thank you all. Well, thank you. And Rebel says that Satanist in the Army military was Michael Aquino. And then look at Joel videos on YouTube. He's got a demon. Zen Mama says, in my opinion, each of us is vibrating at our own frequency. So that is why some people don't see the thing. They are not vibrating close enough to the thing many others are looking at, so it's not possible for the thing to even be in their mind. I hope that made sense. Sort of, yeah. And Charles says, just typed Satanic General. And then Caliph Kid says, I tried to share with my wife yesterday about the Bondi Beach incident in Australia. I told her it was all a psyop. Her words, I don't believe it. I saw it on TV. What does it take to get through with these folks? You know, as we've all been told many times, everybody has a point at which they wake up. It's in their DNA. And if it's not their time to wake up, it's almost impossible to do so. You just have to wait for them to do it on their own. And Rabbit C says, Merry Christmas, you too. Thank you. Same to you. Martin, your amazement at how stupid people are to believe the bullshit made me get a belly laugh. Love you too. Patriot 907 says Aquino, or however you spell it. And Hodgepodge Patriot. Martin and Brenda's. Here is an interesting video on Erica. TA says Restored Republic quotes a Mr. Poole on Telegram in almost all their reports. Reciprocity. Hi, Martin and Brenda. Don't forget Jewish food taxes on many products we buy. Exactly. Yeah, more products than we think. Yeah, Lord only knows how many billions of dollars they make on that. And then BS Pixauto, Aquino, Tabby Gabby says U.S. aid has sent money to Soros since 1993, and our Congress, who we elected, let this happen. Well, that's pretty damn disappointing. The straw that breaks the camel's back. Not much faith in our Congress anymore. The majority of them have their favorite people to take care of, and that's not American people. I agree. Maya 444. Hi, Brenda. The 5-minute cake link took me to a gym. I tried it twice. Could you repost the 5-minute flowers? And then Brenda did that. She says, Good morning, Maya. Strange. I tried it, and it took me to the recipe. Try this one. And then RVA Squizzert. Merry Christmas to you both, Martin and Brenda. Love you both. Thank you for everything you do. You're welcome, and thank you. Kikatray says, Hi, hey, Brenda. I sent y'all that movie, Clara, a few years ago. I found another one that you may like. I am watching it now, but wanted to stop and forward it. The movie title is Ingress. It didn't rate at all high on IMDb, but it may have been because it's hard to follow without any context. Enjoy and pleasant holidays. Thank you. Same to you. And then S Panic, love these Brunel Sundays. Thank you. And then Reciprocity, Aquino. Calif Kid says Martin is a great cook, especially when he goes to 133 Burger. Indeed. And then BS Pexiato, Michael Aquino. Calif Kid says it's really hard to reach out to folks I have found. These are really good folks. They just don't see what we all see. I've struggled with this and also with my spouse. How can we reach out to them? It's hard. It's almost impossible, honestly. B. Slaughter says, that was a humdinger of a show. Lots of info. Thank you both for all your work and daily diligence, keeping us sane. You're welcome, and thank you, Vicki. And then B. Carlson says Mr. Poole is a channel on Telegram. Momo Debs, Aquino, S. Fontenet. Hi, Brodell's glad to watch your videos. Just a question. Do you think Erica Kirk was Charlie's handler? No, I don't. I think what we're watching is Erica 2.0. That's what I think we're watching. And I think there's more going on behind the scenes than we realize. And then Gabby Steele says, have a great Christmas, Martin and Brenda. Thank you. Same to you. And I think they're using Erica 2.0 to expose TPUSA, the corrupt part of it that became how can I put it? They wanted to get the money from Israel. That's what I think they were after. Maybe more. I don't know. Abdom says one place we lived was across from the church, and remember, my dad would never go. He said they come out of the church and they go straight to the pub. He was dead against them. He was in World War I in the trenches. He said them poor soldiers never had a church to pray in. So if they didn't have a church to pray in, then neither do I. They're all hypocrites. If I want to pray, I can pray anywhere. He said much more, but I would be here forever. If I tried to write it all, he said down. He told me a lot, and in the last few years, I have learned so much more about what the evil have done and are doing. Thank goodness for people like Mr. Trump and you and Brenda and all I have learned from. And I did get a lot of myself, but people like you have taught me more. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you. You too. And then they go on to say the older people have no one to turn to anymore that are awake, as you can't trust anyone, as they are trying to kill off all the older ones, as we have all the knowledge. And then they go on to say, example, Brenda, they are bastards. And then they go on to say, I remember when I was working somewhere, when I started work there, they said to me, we get to transport to and from work. Well, one day they tried to stop it, so I worked all the way through. Where I worked, banged on the office door, walked in, and said, what's this about trying to stop transportation to and from work? I banged on the desk and said, when I came to work here, they said there'd be transport to and from work, and transport there will be. They never tried to stop it again. Not while I was there. I was only 17, and the manager was sat at the desk. I didn't care, as I knew I was right. They asked me the next day if I would be the shop steward. I declined, as I didn't know all the things I should have known to be it. I have been very open and forthright ever since and before. Excellent. And then, let's see here. And then, Sweet Pea says, Martin, the sea is not always the safest place to be. No, it's not. You're right. And then Pirates, Chikara. Sweet Pea says, it's time to dismantle the school system and start from the ground up. And then she says, the government works for us. And TA says, or at least that's the theory. It doesn't seem to work that way much of the time, though. And then she says, a friend doesn't believe this is a movie, and definitely that they are not watching actors. And Jules Goddess says, my boss, Chuck Muir, went on his yacht with his wife and two friends in the mid-'80s. They all went missing near Bahamas and never found. Wow. Daytona Beach says, do you know the order in which the events need to fold out? Our Ricardo Bossi said, they will reveal the jab and sickness info first. Do you know second and third? Thank you. You know, the only stuff I've heard is the fake war, crashing the market. Other than that, I don't know. And then HIQ says, thanks for the summaries. TA says, large groups of Muslims have failed to respect the laws and customs of host countries until they own those countries 57 times. The West had best take heed. And then they said until they owned last even. The Brunson case can't come quick enough. It is still in a docket at the Supreme Court. Yeah, one of the other things that needs to happen too is the Brunson case. Absolutely. And then CJ06. No, they deleted. Caliph Kid says we watched the container ships coming into the port of Oakland at work on the live webcam. Makes me wonder what's in those containers. Yeah, no kidding. And then DW the Poet says this is a strange script, to say the least. Bondi won't go after the Clintons, even after the evidence out there. Something needs to get straightened out and fast. The Clintons will be gone after. Of course, they're already dead, but legally though they're going to be gone after. I just don't know how or when. And then DW the Poet says there is a video on Sarge's Telegram that is titled How Trump Saved Christmas. Very well made, cute, and funny, especially how Trump takes out the drug boats. And then Smith Matthew says, Martin, they won't do Ilhan Omar just yet because there'll be something bigger that she'll be used to expose. Perhaps Huma Abedin and the link to Muslim Brotherhood. Perhaps that Obama is a Muslim. They also want the citizens to be screaming for action to be taken before it actually occurs. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, good point. That is all for now. I want to thank you all for your support and thank you for supporting the sponsors of the channel. God bless y'all and have a great day. Bye bye now.